A couple of weeks ago, I went to the dentist. The first time I went to this particular dentist. And I'm in there waiting for the dental hygienist to come in and do the cleaning. And she tried to create rapport, which is good. If you have a new customer, you want to create rapport and make people feel comfortable. And she came in and started asking me rapport building questions, or what some people think are rapport building questions. Where are you from? How long have you lived here? What do you do for a living? And I gave her the answers, but every time I gave her an answer to her question, she responded the same way by saying, nice. She would only say, nice. But when she said, nice, she said it in a very kind of inauthentic way. She would smile big with her face, with her lips, but not her eyes, which told me she was being a little bit incongruent, which means maybe she was thinking that only by asking questions you can create rapport, and you don't really understand that if you want to create rapport, you need to be as congruent as you possibly can. You need to be as completely 100% congruent as you possibly can, not just with your mouth, but with your eyes. And I've always had this suspicion that dental hygienists are just a little bit on the culty side, because I've known a few of them in my time, and they always seem to be very, very, very eager to tell people to take care of their teeth. This one girl I knew, she's a dental hygienist, and she would go to these business meetings and these symposiums and in these workshops, and the whole purpose was how to be more effective as a dental hygienist, not with the techniques of being a dental hygienist, but with convincing your customers to come into the dentist more often. And so it seemed a little bit culty, and this one lady who kept saying nice to me didn't really break that idea in my mind. It could be me. I could just be hallucinating things. The other night, I was hanging out with some people, one guy I know, another guy I don't know, and these three girls who I just met that night. And we were having this free-flowing conversation. Two girls were talking about stuff, and they were just going all over the place like conversations do when they're organic and spontaneous. And they got onto a conversational topic of how long that particular day had been. And they started talking about a common human experience, which is something that's very, very good for conversational flow. If you want to create rapport, look for common human experiences. And the common human experiences they were talking about is when you have a really, really long day, for whatever reason, and you think back to something you did that morning, and that seems like it happened a couple of days before because your day has been so long. And these two girls were talking, and one of them mentioned a movie that she saw earlier that morning at a friend's house. And based on how she talked about the movie, I think I understood what the movie was or what the movie was about, but I'm not sure of the name or what actually happened. But it seemed like one of those movies, a musical, where you have these kids, like a ragtag group of kids, and they come together and they have to join this choir. And at the end of the movie, they have to go in some kind of a competition to show how skilled they are singing. And that's like the grand finale is how well they sing at the end. But the girl mentioned that in passing, and she said, when we watched that movie this morning and they did their skit at the end, or that their performance at the end, their skit at the end, that she didn't say skit, she said their recital. When they did the recital at the end, that seems like yesterday. But the other girl somehow didn't like that she labeled that event in the movie as a recital. That somehow bothered her for some reason. And she said, I'm pretty sure it wasn't a recital, it was a performance. And that killed the conversation. That just, the conversational vibe just was destroyed. Right after I graduated from college, I started taking these classes at night at local community colleges just to have something to do. And this one class I took was all about how to create conversational flow. And it was based, I think, loosely on Dale Carnegie's book, How to Win Friends and Influence People. And the guy was talking about how to create conversational flow and what to avoid if you want to not break the conversational flow. And the thing that he mentioned over and over again is that one way to kill the conversational flow, if that's what you want to do, is to try to correct what the other person says, to try to demonstrate that your ideas are better than their ideas, or what they said is factually incorrect. This is why everybody hated Socrates, as brilliant as he was. He would just go around proving that everybody else was wrong. Now, that might be true. It might be true that all our beliefs are wrong. It might be true that nothing we believe is actually correct. And it might be possible to learn the Socratic method, which is a modified version of the meta model, to prove that everybody you talk to is wrong about what they think is true. That is possible, but it's not going to make you any friends. It's going to make you alienated from everybody. And so he was saying that if you want to create a conversation with someone, if you want to create conversational flow, you have to understand the reason we like having these social conversations, particularly with people we've just met for the first time. The whole reason to have a conversation is to see if there's any basis for a collective narrative around the two people that are having a conversation. Because this is what our instincts want us to do based on our hunter-gatherer origins, based on a lot of anthropologists thinking that as to why we invented language in the first place, to share our experience with others, to share our memories, even if they're false memories, to share what we think is true. And this kind of mixes together and creates this kind of collective narrative, this collective consciousness of the tribe. And so when you meet somebody for the first time, when you have a conversation with somebody and you're trying to vibe with that person, when you're trying to vibe with other people, it's a matter of seeing how well you resonate with each other. They say something, they share some experience, and that resonates some reciprocal experience with you, and you share that experience. And if you can vibe back and forth like that, you can create some conversational magic. And it's not just about superficial, what kind of music do you like? What kind of food do you like? It's about how you frame events. It's about the kind of emotions you tend to reference when talking about your experiences. It's how you frame events that you kind of have an idea that other people know about. It's how you reference your own history. It's how you think about your future in terms of our positive future, negative future. There's a whole lot of variables that go into conversational vibing. And the easiest way to vibe with someone conversationally is to just release all outcome. Release all intention and just let yourself or imagine yourself as a conversational resonance chamber. And whatever they're saying, just allow that to resonate with you and allow whatever ideas come up, allow them to come up and just share them, no matter what they are. The more you can congruently do that, the more you can create this conversational flow. But the thing to avoid is to correct the other person and tell them that they're wrong and you're right. That will destroy anything. And this is why the energy was destroyed in that conversation. I don't know what the relationship was between that girl and the two girls that were talking, but when she said that, it just killed everything. I suspect, if I were to guess, that these two girls were having a very, very free-flowing, very organic, very energetic conversation. They were really, really enjoying themselves. And I think maybe this girl kind of felt excluded. And so she maybe tossed a bomb in there to destroy that so she wouldn't feel excluded. I don't know if that's what happened or not, but this is the kind of thing you can notice when you open yourself up to the conversational flow, when you allow yourself to become a conversational resonance chamber. You pick up all these things that are going on conversationally that most people miss because most people are up inside their heads. Most people are up inside their heads trying to figure out what to say next, regardless of what the other person is saying. But if you just turn off your brain, turn off any outcome, turn off any intention, and just allow yourself to become a conversational resonance chamber, you'll flow much more organically, much more fluidly. But this is difficult because this is something that takes practice. This is something that most people learn in school growing up, but because most people have grown up with social media, a lot of people don't have this skill, which means if you can develop this skill, if you can become a congruent conversational resonance chamber and just vibe like crazy with whoever you talk to, you will become incredibly attractive and charismatic. She did have really nice teeth, though. When she kept saying, nice, she kept showing me her teeth. And I'm wondering if maybe she was low-key, subconsciously trying to advertise the dentist because her teeth were really, really beautiful. But she just gave off these weird vibes. And she even tried to schedule me for another appointment before the dentist even came in to see me, which verifies my day or validates my day, even if it's a hallucination that these dental hygienists are trying to run their own game on people. But because she was incongruent, I rejected her attempt to set another appointment with me before the dentist came in. And that's what happens when you're not congruent. Whatever you suggest will be rejected if you're not congruent. But if you are congruent, if you let yourself turn into a conversational resonance chamber, your ideas, your suggestions will be much more likely to be accepted. But if you want to learn how to become conversationally resonant, check out the links below. Thanks for watching. Please like, subscribe, and comment, and I'll see you next time.